Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. For return viewers, welcome back. And for new viewers, my name is Dennis Sakoya Litsi. And in this channel, we'll be building each other with financial skills so that we can also better our personal financial management. So thank you so much. Now, on today's video, we are going to talk about a very sensitive topic. And in this topic, most people don't want to talk about it. And it addresses issues with marriage and money. I know we usually say for better for worse, but I think that is where everyone draws the line: marriage and money. To what extent must I be honest with my partner? To what extent must I be accountable or transparent with my partner? And this has been a very big issue when it comes to marriages. You'll find that in many marriages, people are not honest. You'll ask the wife, "How much do you make?" And he will say, "I don't know how much my husband makes," and vice versa. And even when you and even when maybe somebody has died, that is when you realize my partner had these big properties elsewhere that I didn't know about. But is that really how we are supposed to treat money or finances when it comes to marriage? My advice is a big no. And in this specific video, we'll treat it as part one of this specific issue, where I'm going to share how we are supposed to treat finances as a couple. And I'm going to give you 5 tips on how we are going to do that. So with these 5 tips, we'll be able to dissect each tip by looking at it in depth and understanding. So if I'm married to so and so, how am I supposed to treat our finances? How am I supposed to treat our budgeting issues? How am I going to treat our plans as far as finances are concerned? So here we are going to have an in-depth look on how you as a marriage couple should be treating these matters, because honesty is key, transparency is key, accountability is key. Anywhere where there is any money transactions, those are the key pillars that you're supposed to look for: honesty, transparency, and accountability. And whether you are the husband of the house, you are also supposed to be accountable to your spouse. Whether you're the wife of the house, you're also supposed to be accountable to the spouse. And you will only be accountable if you are transparent with every transactions that you've made. So I know this is a very sensitive topic. Most of you will throw stones at me. But again, why get married to somebody whom you cannot be honest with? Because gone are the days where we used to get married just because of and in fact, I think old days, marriages are really sacred union. So coming into the new generation, I think we have made very many mistakes. When you find in a homestead where the man is the breadwinner and the woman is not the breadwinner, you find out that there is no respect between the two. And also vice versa, when the woman is the breadwinner and the man is a stay-home dad, there is also that issue of not in there is that issue where somebody feels disrespected or somebody feels entitled because you are the one providing for that family, so you are entitled to all the respect, or you are entitled to being feared or something. So let us really try and understand, as a married couple, how are we supposed to treat these finance issues? And we are going to look at the 5 pointers, and I hope that with these 5 pointers, uh, somebody out there, newly married couples, or if you're a couple and you really don't understand how you're going to navigate these finance issues, then I think this video is for you. Before we jump in, if you have not subscribed, kindly feel free to just like the video and also subscribe. All those things are just at the bottom of this video somewhere. You'll just see them. Okay, thank you so much, and let us jump into it. So first thing with money: open communication. That is something which we cannot do away with that. Open communication starts from your income as a husband and a wife. When you have decided to come together, remember that is a union, and you cannot survive in a union when there is no open communication with each other. And what am I saying is, if you have a couple or a spouse, it is good for you to come and tell them openly that this is what I'm making and this is how much you can survive in. As a wife, also, you're supposed to come open and tell your husband, this is what I'm making, and this is how much you can survive with or we can budget with. Because at times we tend to create some fallacy or at times we tend to come up with high expectations. Because when I was dating this guy, he showed me, he used to take me out, this is the kind of lifestyle we used to live, not knowing that even the maybe your husband was surviving on debts just to give you that lifestyle. Then when you come into the marriage and expect the same lifestyle to continue, you receive a shocker because this person was not open to you from the start. So open communication is very key. Now, under open communication, one thing is you must first discuss financial goals together. As a couple, what is your financial goals? What are your long-term and short-term goals that you want to achieve together? Do you want to buy a car? Discuss it with your wife. Do you want, let's say, to build a house? Discuss it with your wife. Do you want to acquire some property elsewhere? You must discuss it with your wife or you discuss it with your husband. This is a two-way round. It is not only pointing on the husband side, but also on the wife side. Because I've had these issues in some region where you come in and you find your wife or your husband has properties that you didn't know about. Somebody dies, and that is when you realize you are richer than what you thought, or you realize you are poor because the assumption you had that maybe we are rich, it was non-existent. So it is always good for you to set financial goals with your spouse. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What properties do you want to acquire? If you want to build a house, then how are we going to budget as far as the finances of that house is concerned? So you must set your short-term and long-term goals together. Then another thing is you need to understand each other's mindset, money mindset. Because when you know the financial values and the habits of your spouse, it will really help you to now be open when you're coming to communication. Because in some relationship, you'll always find that there is somebody who knows how to save and there is somebody who knows how to spend. So when I understand that maybe my wife or my husband knows how to spend, then now that open conversation comes in when it reaches that point and you say, hey, you know how to spend though we overspend. So what if we do A, B, and C and D and try and save rather than just overspend? So when you know the habits and the financial habits of your spouse and the financial values, what are their spending patterns? You get what is the spending pattern of my husband? What is the spending pattern of my wife? And the most important question is it sustainable? With the income that we are receiving, is this spending pattern sustainable? And when you understand that, then when you now have that open conversation with them on matters finance, you now know how best you can address it based on how your partner is. So like you can come and say, now we've just married, we have 2 kids. I think we can now limit on our spending and put more on investment. Or rather, I think we can now limit on maybe this specific thing and now save enough money to for A, B, C, and D. Or now we need maybe to buy a car, so probably we need to limit spending on this side, save enough money, then put it on the other end. So the most important thing is the financial values, the habits of your partner, and also their spending patterns. How do they spend money when they have it? Now that is just on the first pointer where I'm saying open communication about money. Then as a married couple, you must set up a joint account. That is something which you cannot avoid. You must sit down, put your finances together, and set up a joint account. And respect comes in, even if your partner is not working. That joint account is what you swore to come and become one. So have that joint account. And in that joint account, you must first combine essential expenses. So there is an account where you both put money, and this is specifically for essential expenses. Okay, so those essential expenses, sorry, you can have it, let's say their mortgage, rent, and utilities, or something like that. Then you are also supposed to give some allowance to yourself, because you don't work just to save, invest, and every other thing. So yes, you have a combined joint account of the personal of essential expenses. That's okay. Now, what about the personal expenses? On personal expenses is that issue whereby you let's say let us save, let's say let us give each other, let's say 10k each. So you as the husband, you can do whatever you want with that money. Maybe shave, get a good shave, buy yourself a shirt, buy yourself some grooming kits for your next that will sustain you for a while. For the wife, maybe she also needs maybe to tend to her nails, her hair, etc, etc, etc. So each person must have that independence. You are married, yes, but when you assign some money to some personal account, it also tends to create some personal independency when it comes to when it comes to your own personal expenditure. And this has to happen whether you have kids or not. At times, as a married couple, you might just be out there and you need to spoil yourself. You need to have an account where you can do all these small nitty gritties for yourself. Then another thing is you're supposed to have regular meetings where you are reviewing your budget. I don't expect you are a married couple as at now and you don't have a monthly budget. I'll be talking about that on a separate video. But you need to have a monthly budget. A budget that advises you on what are our essential expenses, what are our savings, and where are we investing today. That is a budget that you need to review on a day-to-day basis because things do not remain constant. So imagine maybe you're building a house somewhere and you have a budget and the house has been done. So basically you need to come down and say, hey, we were saving to build a house. We have already finished building a house. So how can we redirect these extra funds? Do we need to invest? That is number one. Do we need to buy another property or another asset that we can attach it to our name? Do we need to pay off our debts? That is if you had, let's say, loans that you need to pay off. Or rather, how best can we, is there, do you want to go back to school as a wife, or does my husband want to go back to school? So these are important things that you need to sit down, reevaluate, and review. So first thing, you must open a joint account for the essential expenses. You must have personal accounts, and you must be in a position to be reviewing your budget each and every time. Okay. Now, the third key pointer that I also want to address as far as marriage and money is concerned, you must decide on account structure. Do you want a joint or separate account? And this is where now I was telling you, you must sit down and have an open communication. You cannot just be married and finance is that topic that you and your husband cannot discuss, because every now and then you bring it up, somebody is agitated somewhere. Somebody doesn't want to be honest with each other. That is not a good sign. It is not good for you, and it is not also good for your spouse. So you must decide, what accounting structures do we need? Personally, what I will advise, you must first have a joint account structure for shared expenses. And that is why up there I told you you need to have a joint account for essential expenses. So for these joint expenses, you need to decide uh, who will be dealing with the long-term expense for this family, who will be dealing with the day-to-day expenses. So you can say maybe the husband, you're the one who's supposed to pay the rent, you're the one who maybe is supposed to pay school fees. For me as the wife, I'll be dealing maybe with the day-to-day essentials of the house. I'll be doing with the monthly shopping of the house. I'll be doing with the payments, let's say, of the housemaid or the house girl. So when you do that, you sit down and decide, now how much do we need on a month-to-month basis to be in a position to foot this bill. So when you do that, the husband removes his quota, you remove his quota, put it in a joint account so that it can be able to sustain you each and every time. Another thing you're also supposed to do, and this is just a repeat of what I told you, you're supposed to have a separate account for individual spending, because I don't want to feel as a husband that if I want to remove money, I can't, because I have to carry you for the access of the joint account. So we also need to have that independency in marriage. As long as there is that open communication, that independency does it doesn't have to be an issue. So you need to also have separate accounts where you can access it as an individual, where you can put in your money with utmost transparency and accountability. Put in your money and say, this month I want to buy myself a good shoe, this month I want to buy myself a new suit. That is where now you can go and access this money. Hybrid approach is a relationship of both. You need to have joint account for your expenses, separate accounts for your personal expenses. And that is just similar to what I said. I'm insisting on that because having this distinction will help you better manage your finances as a married couple. Now, another key pointer which I want to say is you must assign financial responsibilities. One person cannot be doing everything. Remember, it is much more convenient when you work as a team in your marriage. It is not an issue of the wife has to provide this time, or the husband now has the sole responsibility to provide everything. I always advise couples that it is good for you to work as a team, and you will find out that the financial pressure is lessened when you are working as a team. Each person has a defined responsibility when it comes to who does what and when on matters finance. So you have to sit down with your spouse and decide, I have the capability of doing A, B, C, and D. I think I'm comfortable maybe paying the school fees of our children, paying the rent and the long term expenses. I want you as my wife to be able maybe to cater for the small nitty gritties in the house, the day to day expenses of our food and etc. So when you assign like that and there is a clear communication between the two of you, I think that teamwork will even be in a position to lessen the financial pressure that one of you might incur if they are the ones with the sole responsibility of incurring these costs each and every time. Now, you need to also have regular financial meetings. Remember at the top, I told you you must review your budgets on a regular basis. You also need to have regular financial meetings because I might have come in this marriage when maybe I'm earning 50,000 or 100 or even 150,000, but things are not working as we move. We need to have this meeting so that we can think and say, hey, I know we made these commitments, but do we adjust it towards now our short-term or long-term goals? So as a married couple, you must first come up with the short-term and long-term goals so that every time you review a budget, they need to be steered towards you achieving those goals that you set. And that is why your role is told nothing is usually so rigid. You need to come up with plans that are flexible enough to be changed based on the changing times that you will be experiencing or based on the goals that you are working towards as a couple. Then another thing which is very important, and this is the last pointer for this part one clip on marriage and money, because it is a very broad topic that needs some extra time just to dissect key pointers. So another important thing which you need to do as a married couple, you need to build a joint emergency fund account. You know, uh, people do not have this emergency funds account. So when they experience an emergency, they are left now running helter skelter. Where can we get the money? Let's apply for a loan. You are distressed. You're getting yourself into this Shark Tank's loan where you'll be even strained more mentally, financially, physically. These things strain. So as a married couple from day one, kindly have a safety net. And the safety net is you must have a joint emergency fund account where you are saving there on a month to month basis. And to be safe, let it even be deducted automatic from your bank accounts immediately you earn something. If you're a business person or you're paid salary, it needs to be taken directly to your emergency joint fund account. Because even if you save, let's say, for 10 years and you have never received any emergency, you can take that money and reinvest it elsewhere. But within that period, if you have an emergency, you'll now be mentally, you'll now be in a position to handle that situation well, because it's just an issue of, okay, we are distressed, we need this amount of money, we have a joint emergency fund. You go to that joint emergency fund, take whatever you need, sort out your issues, and come back. Okay, so having a joint emergency fund account is very important. And for this account, kindly lock them, even if it is you're locking it for 3 months, 6 months, and you must have discipline as a couple. So you don't take this money and go for vacations. You don't take this money and, let's say, go and party out there. No, this is an emergency fund account. So if it multiplies, you have an emergency, maybe invest it. And I'll also be talking to you on other clips on where you can invest that money. But always have a safety net should there be anything that will happen to you as a couple. Then As I said, for discipline, you can also automate your contributions so that they are immediately you're paid, they are transacted directly to your emergency fund account. So this is just part one of how you'll be able to treat money as far as marriage is concerned. If you're a married couple and you have other new ideas, or you have something that you can't really navigate through when it comes to you treating these finance issues with your couple, kindly feel free to add it on the comments, and I'll go through it, and I will also create more content on the same. Thank you so much for sticking to me towards the end of this video. I really do appreciate your support. Remember to like and subscribe at the bottom of the video. Have a good time.